Yo, what's good with y'all, man? I know it's been a while. I am so sorry. I've just been busy. Life has been, bro, I feel like Deku right now, bro. Life has just been punching me in the face repeatedly. But I'm doing better now. It's Friday, weekend. But I have a book review. I've been meaning to do this book review. Sorry, I got a new chair. I'm still trying to figure out how it works. But anyway, I've been wanting to do this book review for a while, but I was lazy, y'all, and I couldn't, honestly, it's just, you see this book, it's called Masonic and Occult Symbols Illustrated. It was an amazing book. And, but I was just, contemplating. I wasn't even really lazy. I was just thinking about, how am I going to do this? Because I didn't necessarily want to go through the whole book. So I guess my plan would just be to go over the parts that I thought were interesting and the parts that I think are most applicable to, people who may not have as an extensive knowledge base surrounding occultic topics as I do. And that'll also encourage you guys to go read the book for yourself, especially if you're interested in, occult things, Freemasonry, things like that. So let's get into it. I also have my my journal here. One of my journals. I have multiple journals, so I use them for different reasons. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm trying not to make this too long. I don't know if y'all can hear that creaking. I don't like this chair. I miss my old chair, but that's a whole story in and of itself. I'm telling y'all, bro, life is just all right. So I remember the first thing I wanted to talk about was the yin yang symbolism. So essentially what it described it as it representing equality between the masculine and feminine principle. I'm sure that you guys knew that already, but the thing that really stuck out to me was the dots in the middle. So if you can see here, you see there's the dot in the middle, right? So the dot is meant to represent bisexuality, right? So in the white side, the feminine side, they have a little bit of they go both ways. Same thing with the masculine side, they go both ways. So I thought that was very interesting. And hold on one second. So yeah, so in alchemy, which is really Luciferianism, they believe that the male and female combined equals perfection, which is one of the reasons why they're pushing so much of that transgender agenda. And also why when you research a lot of the pagan gods, who I always tell you guys, those are all just different forms of Satan. One in particular, I think his name was Atum, which surprisingly sounds like Adam, but Atum was the very first Egyptian god. In their creation story, he's basically androgynous. He's like the Baphomet. He has male. He's like the Egyptian version of the Baphomet, and also the Baphomet itself, why it has male and female body parts, because in Luciferianism and Satanism, they believe that men and women are supposed to be not in union, but literally combined. That's why like I said, they're pushing so much homosexuality, so much transgenderism. Hopefully you're starting to understand at least a little bit where these ideologies are coming from. They're not just coming out of thin air. There's nothing new under the sun. So that's where they are where they're getting these things from. And it says here Mercury from Greek or Roman mythology was called the male female. Yeah, also one thing I like about this is it shows how a lot of organizations, famous organizations like charities or major companies, they have demonic symbolism within them, and it's very interesting. The idea that everything changes does not agree with the Bible. There we find that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Bars. Malachi 3:6 tells us, I am the Lord, I change not. So when you see these people who are, constantly, and it doesn't even have to be transgender, just when you see people, because people have different levels of demons in them, I guess. When those people who are always changing their hair colors or changing their nails or putting on makeup, not wearing makeup, that's also a sign of demonic possession and them unknowingly or knowingly being a Satanist. I've met several women, especially when I was in Atlanta, who self-identify as witches. They told me to my face I'm a witch, and I was okay. But that was before I was awakened. so I didn't really think anything of it. But it's, yeah, crazy, man. The circle. Oh, this one. I want to talk about this one. Oh, there's a lot of good information here. So the triangle, right? So triangles, obviously, like, you know, about the pyramids. Those are also the way that it's mostly being used today is it's meant to be demonic, right? So you have the upward triangle, right? That's meant to represent the divine masculine, and the downward triangle is meant to represent the divine feminine. So if you look, you know, like how you see, when I thought about that, when I learned that this one represents the divine feminine, it made me think about, you know, not to be, how can I say this? You know, like girls, like their underwear, and it's like a triangle, like hopefully you get what I'm saying. But anyway, but also, and this will be a whole nother topic for another day. I can't really get too deep into it, but when you see frats, right? Frats throw up a lot of like, I don't know. I think it might be the deltas where they throw up like this, like this. That's like their, you know, because those organizations are based in Freemasonry. So obviously masonic and occult symbols illustrated, like they're throwing up masonic demonic hand signs. I'm sure this is somewhere like the, you know what I mean, but specifically that, like when you see people, when you see frats or sororities, like I said, I think it's the deltas. That's why I only say that because I have a friend, one of my best friends, she's a delta, and I argue with her all the time. I'm like, bro, you're literally in a cult, and she's like, no, I'm not. It's about black excellence and all this. I'm like, bro, no, it's not. It's about it's about Satan, bro. But love you, Gabby. Anyway, this was interesting. It says that both names Set and Shiva are also listed in the Satanic Bible as another name for Satan. Helen Blavatsky, Madame Blavatsky, who is one of the greatest or the most infamous Satanists of, you know, the past century, she says that now we have to remember that Shiva and the Palestinian Baal or Molech and Saturn, aka Satan, are identical. So once again, she's telling you what I've been telling you, that all of these gods and goddesses, it says Shiva, Baal, Molech, and Saturn are identical. They're all the same thing. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. It doesn't matter if it's Zeus or Poseidon or, you know, Shiva. They're all the same thing. They're all the same thing. And all of them are manifestations of Satan. Satan is a shapeshifter. I have to find this. I'm going to make a video about it. But I was watching this video one day where it was talking about how Satan has like 72 different names or avatars that he can like possess. Like these are all just like Satan's avatars. You see an avatar, right? There are a whole bunch of different people, but they all have the same spirit, right? Blue and red spirits. That, like, I think Rava and Vatu, like those are just the two different forms or two, I guess, personality alters of Satan. And he continuously, you know, possesses people throughout time. Avatar is satanic too, but you know, I'm gonna do a article or a video on it at some point. Like I said, I've just been busy. I just released like 2 articles in the past week, so I mean, obviously on parables and everything. The triangle represents pagan gods and has a sexual connotation. Like I said, like the downward triangle is like when you see. I'm not going because I don't want the, you know, YouTube police to come screaming at me. Okay, so the pentagon or pentagram, right? So this was interesting to me. So essentially, you know what a pentagram looks like, right? Like it's like that. You know, a lot of witches, you know, or just in witchcraft circles, you'll see it. So essentially, says the pentagram plays an important role in masonry and the Eastern Star. Just going back to briefly what I said. If y'all don't know what Eastern Stars are, they're basically like female masons because masonry is only for men. But like I said, going back to frats and how and why frats are based off of Freemasonry. So like fraternities are like baby masons and sororities are like baby Eastern Stars. So most people, if they get to a certain point, if they make the connections or they start learning about this stuff like masonry and Eastern Stars, then they can approach somebody, you know, through their connections in the organization and be like elevated per se to become a Mason or an Eastern Star. So the pentagram is used extensively in black magic. I'm trying to find trying to find out where it was. Oh, yeah. Okay, so look. So it says, this star represents God, all that. So it's basically talking about the difference between when it's upwards, right? It's a star, and when it's inverted, right? So when it's a star, is supposed to allegedly meant to represent God, aka Lucifer, right? And when it is pointed downwards, then it represents Satan, right? So Lucifer and Satan, like I told y'all before, like you have like Rava and Batu, Lucifer and Satan, but they're the same thing. Like Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, but he's really, you know, the devil. Anyway, when it's a downward pentagram, right, it looks like a goat's head. Like look at the, you see like the goat's head. I don't know if it's, but down here you see like how it looks like a goat's head, which is why when it's inverted, it's meant to represent like Satan and the Baphomet. I thought that was really cool, you know. Anyway, the goat of Mendes is also known as the god of witches. And just that whole, like I said, like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are starting to understand that like Hollywood is satanic, and most of these celebrities and athletes and entertainers, musicians, they all worship Satan. And something that they consistently use. I wrote an article about this, and I have the video up on my YouTube. It's called Hollywood Volume 1, Who is the GOAT? I might try to attach the link to the description of this video. But like when you hear like LeBron constantly calling himself the GOAT, he brought goats to like that party he just had when he passed Kareem, and Shannon Sharp wearing goat masks, and all these rappers using this goat symbolism. Key Glock had an album where he was walking a goat. The goat is Satan. The goat is the god of witches, the Baphomet, or Pan, who is just another version of, you know, Osiris or Atum or Shiva. Like I said, they're all the same thing. And that's what Pan looks like. See, you have to like, it's kind of like a puzzle, I guess, when you start understanding these things. And like, because a lot of people, especially on like social media and TikTok and Instagram, they'll start saying these things. They'll be like, oh, Hollywood worships Satan. The devil runs the world, but they don't know how to like articulate it, and they don't know how to explain it to people in the way that it should be explained. They just say stuff, or like Kyrie and Kanye, they'll say stuff with no context and no way to, I guess, follow the breadcrumbs. But that's what I'm trying to do with this page, and that's why I'm trying to show y'all, like, I'm trying to show you, like, I guess, step by step how I learned this stuff, and like how it's a very long process. You know, I'm about 3 years in at this point on my journey, and I'm still learning new stuff every day. Like I just read this book like last month, so, you know, be patient with yourself, and, you know, be willing to put in the time and effort that is required to learn these things. But like I said, the GOAT is Satan. So when you see people in the entertainment industry like pushing that symbolism and those images, understand that that is what they're really trying to tell you. They communicate through symbols. They can't come out and tell you and be like, hey, we worship Satan, we sacrifice kids, and we drink blood and eat people. Because then they know people will be like, oh, like, no, these people are crazy. Then the slaves will rebel. So they confuse you. They give you sports, they give you movies, they give you music, but they tell you surreptitiously through symbols like, hey, this is what this really is about, but don't tell anybody, you know. Anyway, this one is talking about the dream net. I'm sure a lot of y'all, we made these in like art class when we were kids, but this is also a satanic symbol as well. I highlighted this one part where it talks about in his vision, Iktomi, the great trickster and teacher of wisdom, appeared in the form of a spider. I think I mentioned this before. I have an article, bro. If y'all know me, bro, Spider-Man is my, bro, like he's my idol, bro. He's my favorite superhero ever. Like I can tell you so many stories about me and Spider-Man, bro. But Spider-Man is another manifestation of Satan. He's the trickster god. And if you know anything about the trickster god, he either appears as a clown or a spider, usually. And there are other things that he can appear as too. So like I said, Satan is a shapeshifter. But in that article, I talked about Anansi, I don't know if you guys, when I was little, we had a children's book series that, you know, I'll say that for the Spider-Man video. Anyway, dream nets are demonic as well. If you have one of those above your bed, you should throw it away. But it's basically meant to be like a web, like that the trickster or that demons can, I guess, use to inherit your dreams. And it's supposed to like catch good and bad dreams. And I'm a big dreamer. Like, I literally have a dream, like, well, I've been having dreams like every night for like the past like 3 months. I'll have dreams when I fall asleep. It's so astounding to me, bro. Like, I'll go to sleep for like 30 minutes and I'll have like a full dream. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't like, it's crazy. And also I think I've been experiencing like some sleep paralysis lately. I never experienced that in my life, at least not that I'm aware of, but it's very hard to describe. Like, it's like you literally like can't open your eyes. Like, you're awake, but you can't really open your eyes. You can like barely open them and you can like barely sit up. It's very like, it's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it. It says the word troll comes from the Old Norse word for demon. So basically, this is what this thing is talking about. This chapter is talking about elementals, right? So essentially, elementals are like small fantastical creatures that are meant to represent, you know, various elements of the earth. So it'll be like fairies and leprechauns and trolls and dwarves, gnomes, elves, right? Going back to, y'all know Santa is Satan. I've talked about that multiple times. Like, he has his little elves, he has his little demons. But yeah, that's what it's basically talking about. That when you see, like I said, let me read it. Let me read this whole thing. It says, what most people don't realize is that the word troll comes from the Old Norse word for demon and is defined by some sources as a devil, a person of great wickedness or maliciousness. So when your child brings home a troll, he or she has in actuality brought home a representation of a demon. These demons are also disguised as gnomes, pixies, dwarves, leprechauns, and elves, as well as many other creatures. All these are demonic representations, but they are presented in such a cute way that most people have no idea the evil character behind these objects. That goes again back to what I was saying about like why they don't, like, Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. I'm starting to like understand what that means, bro. Like, he doesn't come to you. Satan does. I also had a video about how that I wish I knew the devil was so pretty with the long hair. You have to understand how Satan works to really engage in spiritual warfare, bro. Satan doesn't come to you as like things that you're scared of, things that you hate, things that you don't want to be around. He comes to you as the nicest people. He comes to you as the prettiest girls. He comes to you as the most fun video game, the best tasting food, you know, the best, you know, the things that you like. He knows what you like, and he like the best sounding music, the most fun TV shows. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my laptop on my other laptop, but he comes to you in like cute, appealing ways. And but little do you know, like, you have to identify the red flags, right? That's why so many relationships don't last, because it's two demonic people or one demonic person coming, and they get enraptured by the beauty, the outward appearance, and then they ignore, you know, the little symbols. Oh, she got a goat tattoo. Oh, she's asking me about astrology. Oh, she's, you know, trying to tell me surreptitiously that she's a witch or he's a witch. So be careful out here, man, because like I said, it's not as easy as you think it is, bro. It's not as cut and dry as you think. Also going back to this, so you know, like I just said how elementals are demons. So I just saw a picture of a leprechaun. So the NBA is extremely demonic. There's a whole bunch of, you know, MK Ultra assets and Satanists who run the league, and you can tell in the various logos that they have. So the one that I'm thinking about right now is the Celtics logo. So you know, it's a leprechaun, right? I think his name is Lucky, and you'll see if you look at the logo, he has, first of all, he's a leprechaun, showing that he's a demon, but he also has like the one eye symbolism. He has like a monocle on, and he's like winking. And if you look at it from like a bird's eye view, he's like, it's in a circle, and he's like in the eye, like it basically looks like an eye, I guess. So But I remember watching a video about that too, and I was like, whoa, like, it's crazy. Like I said, like, it's very hard to see, and it's very hard to, like, understand exactly what's going on unless you know. Obviously, this chapter is about tarot and playing cards. Hold on a second. Okay, so let me explain this, because this is talking about not just tarot cards, but like regular cards, right? And I'm sure we've all played, you know, card games, but listen to this, y'all. So, I think it would be informative to give the history and the real meaning of ordinary playing cards. The following is taken from the Gospel Standard. The first deck of cards was made for Charles of France in the year 1392. King Charles was an insane man. It is not generally known by card players that cards have a secret meaning. But after the following statements were made public, the members of the gambling fraternity of professional gamblers declared that they are absolutely true. The king card represents the enemy of God, the devil. The 10 spots represent the spirit of lawlessness and is in direct opposition to the 10 commandments of the Bible. Closely associated with the 10 spots is the club card. When cards were invented, the club was the weapon of the murderer. In those days, there were no revolvers or machine guns. The club card stands for murder. The jack represents the lustful libertine who lives on the gains of the prostitutes. It represents the moral leper. There is a game of cards called the brothel game, in which the players use the secret obscene language of the cards and converse with each other merely by dropping a card. Interesting. Now we come to the part that is even more shockingly wicked. The queen card represents the Virgin Mary, the mother of our Lord. In the secrets of cards, she is called the mother of harlots. The joker in card language represents our Lord Jesus Christ. Joker means fool. Jesus Christ is held up by the card players as a fool. And if this is not bad enough yet, the secret language of a deck of cards goes further and declares that Jesus, the joker card, is the offspring of a lustful jack and the queen mother Mary. And there you have the true meaning of a deck of so-called innocent playing cards. So yeah, basically, the king represents Satan. The queen represents Mary as the mother of harlots. The jack is basically like Pan or being lustful. And the joker is meant to represent Jesus. And just one thing I want to say about that, and you know, people who try to discredit the Bible, like, why, like, there's only one entity who there's so much like hatred and so much like ill will toward. You don't ever hear people talking bad, except people like me, the very few people who understand what's really going on. But you don't ever hear people, you know, discrediting or disclaiming Buddha or Shiva or the Egyptian and Greek gods, right? You never hear people talking about Zeus or Osiris or any of these people. It's always about Jesus. Like, oh, Jesus wasn't real. Jesus didn't do this. Jesus didn't do that. So it's whatever, man. How could you hate me? It talks about, this chapter is talking about humanism, which is basically like evolution, meaning that there is no God, that humans essentially created themselves and we evolved from monkeys and, you know, cells, and you know that theme where it's like you see in TV shows how like a fish comes out of the water and somehow grows legs and somehow gains the ability to breathe, and then that fish transforms into like a monkey or something. Like, it's so ridiculous when you watch these things, bro. Like, the stuff that scientists say, bro, like, these people are literally like humanists, people who believe that humans created themselves and, you know, that there is no God and we're just on a rock spinning through space and life has no meaning. Bro, do you understand? So they say things like the Big Bang Theory, like there was just some random explosion and all of this was created. Then they go on to say that evolution happened, that birds turned into dinosaurs and that monkeys turned into humans. And these biological processes were able to happen, not just, it wasn't an anomaly. It was something that was repeatedly happening over and over and over again, right? Like, do you understand how, bro, like that is literally the equivalent to saying like a tornado came through and after it left, like, it built a house just randomly. Like, no, that's not how it happens. Like, the things that they say, it's literally crazier than believing in God. You're gonna tell me that there was just some random explosion and this was the result of it? Get out of here, bro. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. Evolution makes no sense, bro. The Big Bang Theory makes no sense. These theories make no sense, bro. You can feed me and come to me with all that scientific, well, this is why it happened and all of the bro, I don't care. Like, it makes no sense, bro. It makes no sense. This is based on the Humanist Manifesto. It's basically reading through their tenets and the things that they believe in. So one of them, the sixth tenet, is we believe that intolerant attitudes often cultivated by orthodox religions, unduly repressed sexual conduct, the rights of birth control, abortion, and divorce should be recognized. Sorry, y'all. While we do not approve of exploitive, denigrating forms of sexual expression, neither do we wish to prohibit it. What? That doesn't even make sense. That's like, you said, while we do not approve of exploitive, denigrating forms of sexual oppression, neither do we wish to prohibit it. Okay. The many varieties of sexual exploration should not in themselves be considered evil. This would include bisexuality, homosexuality, and bestiality. Yo, I be trying to explain this to people that, like, people in Hollywood, bro, like, these people, like, they have sex with animals, bro. And they talked about that in the Bible. It says, like, don't do bestiality because these are the things that all the nations around you are doing. Like, people actually, like, have sex with animals. I think I mentioned this before. I had a story about bestiality that happened to me when I was in. Now, didn't happen to me. I know someone that it happened to, and she posted it on his. Bruh, I don't want to get into that. Like I said, I'm gonna try to make that a story time. I gotta think about how I'm gonna say it because, you know, I don't want some of my friends to get mad. But bro, people really, like, have sexual activities and intercourse with animals, bro. It's crazy. It's disgusting. People are depraved, bro. You don't understand how people depraved are. You don't understand how much darkness is in this world, bro. Like, it's not a game, bro. And that's also, so going back to, you know, the whole transgender, homosexual, like, that push for sexual liberation, right? So what these people don't understand is that it is a slippery slope. These people are finessing you, right? So before, it was just like, oh, we want gay people to get married, blah, 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 blah. You know, they do things incrementally. They don't do everything at once because they have to break people down slowly. So then it was like, oh, well, you know, we should teach gay people things in school, or we should teach, you know what I'm trying to say, and oh, transgender should be allowed to compete. And anyway, the end goal, what they're going to start doing is they're going to start saying, first, I think it's going to be pedophilia. Y'all should look up an organization called NAMBLA, but basically they're going to be like, age doesn't matter, all humans are just humans, like, we're all just people, so it doesn't matter, you know, any age differences, because the people in Hollywood are pedophiles, bro. So they're gonna do that, and then they're gonna implement bestiality, bro, where people can have sex with animals. Like, that is crazy. Can I say that on YouTube? Can I say sex? I don't know. I don't think I'm big enough for that yet. But anyway, so for all y'all people, if you're watching this and you, like, support those agendas, think about in 20 years, if they did legalize pedophilia and your daughter, your 12-year-old daughter came home with a 30-year-old man that thought he was a woman. How would you feel about that? How would you feel if your 7-year-old son came home with a 22-year-old girl? How would you feel if you came home and your kids and your dog were getting it on? Or if you saw somebody that was married to a horse? Do you understand how crazy this stuff is? It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's ridiculous. And I know people think that, like, I'm joking. Bro, I'm not joking. Like, you should really look into bestiality and pedophilia. Like I said, look up NAMBLA. It's called the National Association for Man-Boy Love. I remember teaching my kids about that, and they were like, what? Like, bro, because these people who support these things, like, they're stupid. They have no understanding. They don't do any research. They listen to the news. They go along with the agendas. And they just don't think. They're like Autobots, bro. But when you expose this stuff to them, bro, this you can't tell me that's okay, bro. You can't tell me it's okay for a grown person to be in a relationship with a child. You can't tell me it's okay for any person of any age to be having relations with animals. Like, are you crazy, bro? People are crazy. Oh my gosh. continuing on in the Humanist magazine, it's absurd to say that one is a humanist but not a feminist. Feminism is the last evolutionary development of humanism. Feminism is humanism on its most advanced level. So if y'all notice, like, most of these feminists, you know, they're the same people who are pushing so hard for transgender rights and homosexual rights. Like, it's all interconnected. It's all correlated. All these people are Satanists. They're being controlled by the devil, and they're all working together, coming in different forms, pushing different ideologies. But I think, like, that right there, humanism basically is the abandonment of God. And feminism is the last evolutionary development of humanism. These feminists believe that they're God. That's why they say, like, that's why they don't want, like, true equality. They'll say things like, we want, you know, all of these things, but we still expect y'all to act, you know, especially men, y'all to act in y'all traditional way, and to basically allow us to do what we want. Like, because they view themselves as their own gods. Like, these women especially, bro, are bugged out. But, you know, it'll be what it is, man. Hope you have fun with your cats, your STDs. Humanism, like I just said, humanism is the denial of God and the total affirmation of man. Humanism is really nothing else but Marxism. Yo, why is everything starting to come together? I know you probably don't know about this on my YouTube, but I just, the last 2 articles are released, I just told y'all about. The first one was about Marxism and why Marxism never works. And the second one was about Black Lives Matter and how Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization, and why Black Lives Matter pushes things like transgender rights and the destruction of the nuclear family. Bro, it's all connected, and it all. I need to do an article on humanist ideologies, because I think this is very important. Now that I'm rereading it, it's becoming like far more. I realize how much more important it actually is. Humanism is the denial of God and the total affirmation of man. Humanism is really nothing else but Marxism or feminism. Communism begins with the outset of atheism. Communism. Let me write this page down. I might go back and add something to that article. 95 symbols. Okay. That was weird. I'm sorry I just did that. Anyway. Every American public school is a school of humanism. Let me read this whole quote. John Dewey, the father of modern American education, signed the first humanist manifesto, as did C.F. Potter, who wrote in Humanism, a New Religion, that education is thus a most powerful ally of humanism. And every American public school is a school of humanism. So that's why in school we learn about evolution and the Big Bang Theory, and why they're trying to push for, you know, PORN in school. Corn. That's what people be saying. Corn, finesse. People be pushing for, like, homosexual corn in school, and for pushing, you know, things like critical race theory and all these ideologies that are based in godless doctrine and godless beliefs. I am convinced that the battle for humankind's future must be waged and won in the public school classroom by teachers who correctly perceive their role as the promoters of a new faith. It says, I'm sorry, it said, like, there's this word, I very rarely get stumbled. It says proselytizers. I don't know. Anyway, promoters. Flipped it on you. Kundalini yoga, demonic. The Greek gods were always immoral, and promiscuous. Okay. This next chapter is talking about how animals, birds, and insects, if you know in the Bible, I forget exactly where it says it at. I think it's in Deuteronomy. But it basically tells us not to make graven images of creeping, crawling things or any animals or anything like that. And that's literally What all of these pagan religions do, they always compare their gods to an animal, especially like in Egypt and Greece, you know. You have like Anubis, he has a dog head. You have Horus, who has a falcon head. You have Zeus, who can turn into a falcon or an eagle, excuse me. But that's what they do. Like they literally are doing exactly what the Bible tells us not to do, and people still don't understand it. You still don't see it. It's because people don't read their Bible, man. Snake gods. The eagle was the living symbol of the Egyptian god Mendes and the representative of the sun. Remember the satanic god of Mendes, the goat of Mendes? Well, this eagle is his emblem, like I said. And that's also why, that's all another story for another day, but y'all know like the logo for America is the eagle, right? Because America is basically just modern day Babylon, modern day Egypt. Shiva carries a snake around his neck. I didn't know that. The dragon was a symbol of the god Mercury. I'm trying to think of how I can say this to you guys. Eve responded that they could eat of every tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Satan remarked, "You shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Satan, through enticement and lies, had just deceived the first man and woman by promising them godhood. So you hear these people that say, like, I'm a god, or these people who believe, bro, like that was the original lie. That's what these people fell for. And it's basically, like I said, like the abandonment of God, saying I'm my own God. She had never known evil, and therefore the lure of learning about something new and different must have intrigued her. Up to this point, she had only known good, truth, perfection, health, and beauty. Now, because of the attraction of the unknown offered through Satan's deception, she would learn of evil, death, sorrow, defilement, pain, and separation from God. The very moment Adam and Eve partook of the forbidden fruit, they died spiritually and were driven from the beautiful Garden of Eden. That very day, they experienced death to innocence, death to perfection, death to the joys they had known, and eventually they experienced a physical death, even passing this physical death on to all humankind. Oh man, let's move on from that, bro. That's sad. Don't take that offer, man. I know how enticing it can be, but as someone who's like experienced, we've all like, you know, all of us, I feel like part of the initiation journey for all people, but especially men, is that we have to go through the same thing that Adam did, and then we have to go through the same things that Christ did to make up for it, essentially. And that's not to say to be perfect, but it's like we have to be better. Because, like I said, I know me as a man, like I like definitely messed up in my life, and I guess I took the fruit in my youth, and I put other things before God. I didn't listen to him, and terrible things started happening in my life. You know, not that bad, because my life is, you know, honestly pretty good. I thank God every day that I'm still here, and that, you know, I have all the things that I do. But you know, appearances can be deceiving, and all of these exterior things mean nothing if you like your heart and your mind is not in the right place. What profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? So that's, you know, why I'm trying every day to get closer to God and to, you know, get my crown back. I feel like I'm Zuko right now. I got to get my honor back, and I have to do all these things and go on this initiation journey. But, you know, we all know how the show ends. I'm going to get my crown back one day. Just watch. Oh, we're almost done, y'all, I think. This is interesting. It's been thought that the sheep, sorry, it's been thought that the sheep went to heaven and the goats went to hell. It is the other way around. This is from someone named Dewal Cool, who received this insight from her spirit guide, allegedly, which is just a demon. So she says, it has been thought that the sheep went to heaven and the goats went to hell. It is the other way around. The goat in Capricorn is the initiate, and from a certain esoteric angle, the goats go to heaven because they function in the spiritual kingdom. The sheep remain on earth until they become goats. It's easy to see how the occult has turned everything around and distorted the truth of God's word. Yeah, so like I said, in these religions and ideologies, they basically believe like the opposite. They do everything that's like, that's what Satan is. He does everything that's anti-God. Like whatever is God, he changes it, bro. That's all. So anything that is not in line with the Bible is wrong, bro. Is wrong. The unicorn is also an androgynous symbol because the horn on his or her head is meant to be a phallic symbol. Horns are phallic symbols. There are a lot of phallic symbols that they use in modern society. Caduceus. It's a funny word. However, once we are saved, we will want to obey God's commands and work for him out of love for God. But our works cannot save us. Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead. So that's like what I said, like about how, like, you know, and it talked about that earlier, how like once Adam and Eve fell, like it was like, bro, you're never gonna be like how you used. It's literally impossible, bro. Like you can't erase your memories, you can't erase, you know, your past actions, but you can be better. And God can renew your heart and change that heart of stone to a heart of flesh. And that's not saying you have to be perfect, but you have to be actively trying your hardest to listen to God and to be putting him first, you know? Don't want to be separated. Hold on a second. Sorry, y'all, never mind. Let me see. Okay. So it says you have probably encountered Kronos on the TV and elsewhere without even realizing what was being depicted. Kronos, or Saturn, is most likely to be encountered at the end of a year or at the beginning of a new year. Kronos is the old man that is leaving the old year behind and the baby crawling or bringing in the new year. Incidentally, Saturn is also represented by a goat's head. Does that remind you of the goat of Mandy's? Basically, okay, like I'm a freestyle on this, y'all. So basically, this is what Saturn looks like, right? Or Kronos. You see him, old man with the scythe. So that brings me to two things. So when you see entities like, and this is like I'm telling y'all, they do it so secretively, it's crazy. So you see entities like the Grim Reaper, right? The Grim Reaper is just Saturn. Like I remember a kid show growing up called Billy and Mandy, and like one of their friends was the Grim Reaper. Like that's Satan. That's literally Satan. These people are talking to Satan. He's dead. He can open portals and do all types of demonic stuff. But I'm telling you, like this is, I understand like why a lot of people like fall into these ideologies, because we've literally been getting programmed since birth and seeing these things and not knowing what we were looking at. So that's one example. And also, if y'all just seen the new, y'all just saw the new Puss in Boots movie, right? Death. He has 2 scythes. That's Saturn. That's Kronos. It's just another, like, it's just another form of him, another version of him. But like I said, like, even though he comes in different forms, like, there's always something that you can use to tell, like, who it is. It's the same person. It's like, I don't know, if you see like 3 different people, but they all have the same voice. Like, if you're not listening, if your eyes and your ears aren't open, you probably won't notice it. But if you hear that they all have the same voice, you're like, what? Like, that's weird. Like, that's kind of like how it is, if that makes sense. But yes, Kronos, Saturn is Satan, the Grim Reaper, the guy from Puss in Boots. Anybody who you see carrying like a scythe like that, that's another form of Satan. Also, I think Hades had a scythe. Hope I'm saying that right. Cupid is not some adorable little mischievous god who makes couples fall in love. He is a god, really a demon of vulgarity and indecency, but he is presented in a cute way with such an innocent looking disguise. Our society is so inundated and saturated with paganism. It has become so commonplace that we don't even notice it anymore. We just accept it as a part of life, not realizing how we must be offending God by using and propagating pagan symbolism and idolizing perverted and evil pagan gods and goddesses. I know this says debauchery, but like, I don't like debauched, I guess. Debauched, perverted and evil pagan gods and goddesses. So like I just said, and I go back, there's a whole chapter in this about Cupid, and I didn't even read this when I wrote that article way before I had this book. I just knew this stuff already, but yeah, Cupid is Satan. And like I just said, like they present things to you in such a cute and innocent way that you don't really realize what you're doing. And that's why I really, I make these articles of why I don't celebrate things like Valentine's Day or Christmas, because I know what it's really about. Like, that stuff is all demonic. Like, you're literally promoting demonic things when you celebrate those days, man. Like, I'm not, like, that's not okay. It's not okay, bro. Especially when you know. A lot of people don't know, and that's why I'm trying to, like, present this information, and why I'm also, like, practicing what I preach. Like, I didn't tell anybody Happy Valentine's Day. I didn't celebrate Christmas this year. Even though people, tons of people telling me Merry Christmas, I'm like, bro, like, get out my face with that. And it just really bothers me, the people who claim that they believe in the Bible, but they still do this stuff. And they, not even saying you have to listen to me, but this information is honestly, like, all over the place. And if you're really trying to see God, he will reveal himself to you. He will show himself to you. Just like he did with me. Just like he did with everybody else who's like me and who, talks about the same things that I talk about. But, a lot of people would rather, be lukewarm and to live in their little fantasy world where they can still indulge in the world. They can have their cake and eat it too. They can still be close to God and be... It's like if you're in a relationship and you claim that you love somebody, but you're cheating on them. And you're like, doing it, and you're like, oh, like, why can't I have both? Like, no, bro, you have to pick one or the other. Right? I learned that the hard way, man. Witches are called many things: shamans, sages, medicine people, alchemists. I talked about that in the Nutty Professor, about how he was a chemistry professor, and about how chemistry and alchemy are the same thing. Also, if you read the book The Alchemist, I have to go reread the book. I think that book was overrated, honestly. People talk about The Alchemist like it's literally like the greatest book ever written. Like, I didn't think it was simple. It made sense. It was a good story, but like, it was not the best book ever written. Please stop acting like it is. It was cool. It's like an 8. Witchcraft uses alchemy. I talked about that too in the Alchemist Cookbook. I got that video up on my YouTube too. You should go back and watch that one. But alchemy was the attempt to become like God. The final request of the alchemist, the final result of the alchemical quest was to achieve eternal life. That's where you get that theme of the philosopher's stone, and turning lead to gold, right? Lead is like men, and gold is like godship, godhood. So that's what the real goal of alchemists is. It really has nothing to do with them actually transforming like chemical compounds and things like that. It has to do with them doing enough spiritual things, they're listening to the deception of the devil. Satan is in their ear like, you keep doing this, you promote this, you tell people to do this, you tell people to worship that, you draw this, you put out this show, you put out this movie, then I'll make you immortal. But he's lying, then they're gonna die, and it's gonna be bad. Alchemy is the predecessor of modern psychology? Oh, man. Man, I think it's quite interesting that in the occult we find it is worth bearing in mind that the psychologist Jung, who considered the discovery of alchemy as one of the greatest intellectual adventures of his life, regarded alchemy as the predecessor of modern psychology. So that's from Carl Jung, who is, like, y'all know who Carl Jung is. He was an extremely world famous psychologist, and a thinker, essentially. And he was an occultist. I didn't know that. I have to go back and research him now some more. Let me write that down too, Carl Jung. We're almost done, y'all. We're almost done. It's a long book. We're not even at an hour yet. And I'm almost like, oh, we're almost done. We're almost done. I thought this would take longer. But I'm having fun, you know? So it doesn't feel like it's taking that long. This is interesting. It says, this is someone named David Spangler, where he's talking about Lucifer and Christ. So he says, Lucifer prepares man in all ways for the experience of Christhood, and the Christ prepares man for the experience of God. But the light that reveals to us the presence of the Christ, the light that reveals to us the path to the Christ, comes from Lucifer. He is a light giver. He is aptly named the morning star because it is his light that heralds for man the dawn of a greater consciousness. He is present when that dawn is realized. He stands no longer as the tester or the tempter, but as the great initiator, the one who hands the soul over to the Christ, and from the Christ on into ever greater realms. So I'm gonna be completely honest with you, like, this somewhat like makes sense to me. And that's not saying like that I worship Lucifer or anything like that, but it's kind of like, and you know, I feel like a lot of people who've really like done research or, you know, looked into the Bible, they have this question of like, why did God create Lucifer in the first place? And why did he allow, you know, him to tempt Adam and Eve? And obviously, you know, people would be like, oh, it's because of free will. But like I said, like, and, you know, because so humans will know the difference between good and evil. But I mean, still, like, if they're, it would have just been a perfect world, you know, like it's, so I think that in me just understanding God's character, I know God likes to tell stories, right? So there always has to be like a villain. There always has to be like some tempting force, because like, what would be the point? Like if you watched a movie or a TV show and just everything went perfectly for the hero and there was no one to fight and there wouldn't even be a story to tell, because everything would just be okay. But stories are about something happening and something being overcome. So sometimes I do, and you know, I remember in Job, right? And you know what? I'm not gonna say this is necessarily true, but just to go off of what this says, that again, Lucifer prepares a man in all ways for the experience of Christhood, and Christ prepares man for the experience of God. So in the book of Job, when Lucifer and God, or Lucifer was in heaven, and he was talking to God, and he was like, can I do this? Like, can I go ruin his life? And God was like, okay. He's still not gonna worship you. So once he did that, and God allowed Lucifer to, you know, Job was able to become stronger and to get closer, you know, to God through that traumatic experience. So that is part of the reason why I do feel like that was a strange, but I kind of agree with the quote. I kind of see what he's talking about, how Lucifer is basically meant to push us closer to God, you know, if we're able to understand what he's doing and why God is allowing certain things to happen in our life, is so that we can get closer to him. And that's also why, like, he continuously allows Lucifer to, like, be around. Because obviously God could just end all of this at any point in time, whenever he wants. But he's allowing things to happen for a reason. So that was very interesting. Very interesting quote. Symbol representing Venus. It's a downward triangle. Page 188. I'm gonna save that quote too, because I might go back. The Muslims believe that an Antichrist is to appear who will have one eye, nor is Antichrist unknown to Mohammedan theology, in which he is called Masih or Masih al-Dajjal, the false or lying Christ. He is to be one-eyed and marked on the forehead with the letters CFR, Kafir or infidel. Once again, I think that, I don't know if that's true. If you're a Muslim and you're watching this video, you can confirm that. But once again, whenever you, regardless of it though, the one eye symbolism is always associated with Satan. And I talked about that in what article is that? The All Might seat of Satan. I have that video up too. You can go watch that if you want to know more about the one eye symbolism. Many of the founding fathers of the United States of America were Masons, and they used its rituals in the consecration of their inspired work, including the erection of important government buildings. So obviously, you know, you have like the obelisks in Washington, D.C., like the Obama one and the George Washington one. You have the symbolism that's used on like American currency, where they have the pyramid and the one eye symbolism. And you know, if you got some money with you right now, go look at it. Like, look at it, especially with the things that we've been talking about. Like, you'll start to see how everything is starting to add up. Hand signs. This is a good one. So remember that Satan or Pan is called the horn god. So you see people throw up this sign. It's called the Manu Cornuto hand sign. I talked about this also in the Spider-Man article about how like he does like this. He's throwing up the Manu Cornuto hand sign, bro. When you see people doing this, it's basically like, so you know, God is, or not God, Satan or the devil has horns, right? He's always symbolized with horns. He's known as the horn god, right? You see Pan, or you know, when you see the devil, he usually has horns, or the Baphomet, right? So this sign is basically like his face, I guess, like two horns and Manu Cornuto hand sign. I think Helen Keller actually made that sign, and Helen Keller was a Satanist, but that's a whole nother story. You got the Baphomet right here. You see his horns? And the hand sign that he's making, it means as above, so below. Which means that they believe God and Satan are the same thing. Hell and heaven are the same thing. Good and evil are the same thing. So that's why they embrace evil, because they think it's good. Woe to those who say that evil is good and good is evil in these last days. That's literally what these people are doing. The Masonic Gnostic law of opposites, the need for both dark and light, good and evil, pain and pleasure, which is exemplified in such Masonic icons as the Master's Carpet, which is intended to be black and white, to be a black and white checkerboard. So like I said, the Masonic law of opposites is also represented in blue and red. It's usually black or white, but it could be blue and red too. That's why you see so many superheroes that wear blue and red. And just so much, you know, so much of that media in general. We're almost done. I'm starting to get I'm not gonna say that. A former Mason mentions that the Tau cross is actually the symbol of the pagan slain and risen god Tammuz. So I briefly touched on this. I think it was in the Valentine's Day article. So essentially, pagans, what they do is they copy off of Christ, and they say like that their version of events is what happened. So they have like the same. You'll notice that, like I said, in Egyptian mythologies, how like a god will die and then he will be reborn, right? So the cross, this cross was actually in existence like before Jesus was even born. And a lot of times, like when you see people wearing like the cross, then that's not it. It doesn't mean what you think it means, I guess. It's talking about the thunderbolt, the satanic S. Another satanic symbol is the lazy 8 or the infinity sign. The Seeker's Handbook states that this sign is the Western counterpart to the yin yang. I don't know if you guys have been watching those videos about Kobe, but Kobe was a Mason, was a Luciferian as well. But I'm gonna do a series about Kobe. I don't know if it'll be a series. It might just be an article, but I'll teach you guys about Kobe. If y'all want to know more about it already, I can direct you to a couple of videos that talk about Kobe and how he was sacrificed and things like that. The god Pan is a symbol of nature and is usually represented with horns. Pan was the patron saint of sexual pastimes. We're almost done, guys. 16. Hold on 1 second. I'm back. I'm back. I don't even want to talk about this chapter because I'm sure a lot of y'all already know. This chapter 16, it talks about zodiac signs. I'm sure most of y'all, especially men, know that zodiac signs are satanic. They're evil. They're all based on pagan gods and pagan symbolism. So don't practice astrology and try to stay away from girls who believe in astrology. What's your sign? No. Done. Automatically. You disqualified. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. It really is just, it's another way. I guess the most basic way I can put it is like, it's a way of like playing God. Like you're saying that I'm going to use these stars and I'm going to use these things to like create a reality for myself or what I think about you or to better understand like how people operate. Bro, you know how many people I know that have like, we're all the same sign, but we're all completely different. I know people that have the same birthday as me. We're two completely different people. So it's automatically wrong. It's automatically wrong, bro. But yeah, don't stay away from people that practice astrology, bro. This one talks about jewelry and how jewelry's origins lie in magic. And you have like you have charm bracelets right? And I think that I'm sure a lot of people have heard that, like, when the fallen angels came, they taught men and women how to, like, make weapons and how to make makeup and make jewelry and things like that. And honestly, so this is where something like, and I'm gonna have to reread this chapter, but I don't think that, like, I think it depends on, like, how you're using the jewelry, you know? I don't know. I have to think about it. I still wear it. I've been wanting my ears pierced since I was a little kid, bro. So that's something that's gonna be hard for me to give up. But, you know, if God put it in my heart that, like, I shouldn't be doing this stuff, then, you know, I would have to make a decision. A former witch says that the word luck is derived from the word Lucifer. It is well known that the Tower of Babel was one of the most ancient traditions of Masonry. So you see here, this is a depiction of the god Baal. You see he's doing the same as above, so below hand sign as the Baphomet. And then also this this look up statue. I can't, bro. Y'all gonna have to wait until my latest article just came out. So I'm gonna try to start dropping more articles so I can get to that one. But y'all will be very surprised to know, like, where that black power fist symbolism comes from. Bro, crazy. Crazy. The original names of the 5 Eastern Star women were actually names of goddesses. How appropriate then to use one of the goddesses' symbols. Going back to the jewelry, it talks about things like protection amulets and things like that, or amulets that are supposed to, like, make you feel a certain type of way or to ward off evil spirits, when in reality they're actually attracting the evil spirits to you. Here's a good one. Albert Pike gives us some additional names for Thor. He explains Thor was the sun, the Egyptian Osiris, the Phoenician Bel or Baal. Baal is also a synonym for the devil. And that's from Albert Pike. Albert Pike was probably the most famous Mason of contemporary times. I think he still has a statue in Washington, D.C. I actually have his book where he talks about how the god of the Masons is Lucifer. I'll probably do something about that too. But, like, the Masons themselves, like the highest level ones, they tell you, like, who they worship. They tell you that they worship Satan. But that's another story for another day. Look up Albert Pike, Freemasons worship Lucifer, and you should be able to find the quote. How can anyone who truly loves the Lord belong to Masonry, the Eastern Star, or any other Masonically affiliated organization when they so blatantly promote paganism? The Bible clearly states, "Come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing." Bro, if you are a Mason, if you are in a frat, if you are in a sorority, if you are in any of those type of organizations, bro, like, you're literally in a demonic cult. And like I said, if that's your thing, that's cool. But my thing is, like, don't say that you believe in the Bible, bro. Don't say, like, don't, bro. And them be the main people. These people that be in frats, these girls that be in sororities, they be the main ones having, like, Bible verses in their bio. Like, bro, what is wrong with you? You're crazy. You're literally crazy, bro. Like, cognitive dissonance is wild, bro. And I get it. Like I said, most people, don't really know about this stuff, bro. They do it for, you know, worldly reasons, but they're not intentionally trying to, you know, worship the devil. But once you find this stuff out, bro, like, you need to, bro, you know how many videos there are on YouTube of ex-frat and sorority members who come out and be like, yeah, like, I had to leave because I found out we were worshiping demons. But, you know, if it's meant for you, if God really loves you and he wants you to find out the truth, he'll let you. But, you know, that it'll just be that. If you rather have your little frat than have God, bro, I hope that they'll save you, bro. I hope that they will save you. Really willing to take that chance. We're in the last chapter, you guys. So it talks about how the symbol of X, right? It's a sign of the slain and risen god, Egyptian god Osiris. So basically with the X, right? And you see how pharaohs, right? A lot of them have like, you know, the crook and the flail, right? You seen Black Panther. You'll see like the Wakandan, they throw the X up, right? You have the X-Men, right? All of these franchises, entities are different forms of Satan. Black Panther is literally just like, he's like another version of like the Pharaoh, I guess. He's all that whole movie was based on Kemet. I'm sure a lot of y'all know that. But I'm gonna do an article about Black Panther too. But when you see people throwing up this sign, like, it's, bro, it's so, like, these people, that's a demonic hand sign, bro. It's saying that you worship Osiris. And they do it so cold, bro. They do it in these, like, world famous movies. So now, bro, you know how many black people I see going around throwing up, look at X, throwing up that X, bro? Like, bro, go home. Just shake somebody's hand, bro. Give them a fist bump. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. People walking around in dashikis. You're not even African, bro. You have no idea who you are. But it's okay. And then the last chapter is on the all-seeing eye, the one eye symbolism. And y'all probably already know a lot about that. So I'll just say a former witch and mason comments, to open the eye a little bit is to experience psychic powers. To open the eye completely is to have your brain flooded with the pure consciousness of Lucifer himself. This is why one of the Masonic symbols is the all-seeing eye. It is a symbol of illumination. This is Satan's counterfeit for being born again. In it, you acquire a personal relationship with Lucifer. You begin to think his thoughts and see with his eyes. You begin to look at humans the way he does. It is not a pretty experience. Be careful with all y'all that's talking about like, oh, I'm opening my third eye, and you want to open your third eye and stuff like that, because you might, you know, encounter the wrong spirit, bro. And, you know, I don't know what to tell you at that point. In Masonry, they believe that God, the supreme architect of the universe, created all things, but then isolated himself from the entire creation and let it operate on its own. This is the very essence of the teachings of Freemasonry. Most people never look beyond the surface of anything. That is why we have this blasphemous Masonic symbol, why we have these blasphemous Masonic symbols everywhere. All right, y'all. I know y'all probably getting tired of me. It's actually not the longest book review I've ever done. The other one was like an hour, 20 minutes, I think. How many of these symbols have you been using unknowingly? Christ has a bride, the church, which is supposed to be holy. Are you waiting for Christ or the Antichrist? Which person are you following? Are you professing to be a Christian while using the paraphernalia, amulets, talisman, jewelry, runes, etc. of Satan? Who are you depending on for your protection? Do you think you need Satan's devices to supposedly keep evil away from you and your family? Or are you resting securely in Christ? If you claim you're following Christ, does your life match your profession? Regardless of what man might say, the Bible is our final authority. Only Jesus Christ can save you. Okay, that's it. So yeah, that went longer than I intended. I apologize. But like I said, this is a huge book, bro. And there's so much information. And y'all know this is like my bag. This is like what I'm good at. This is what like I know the most about. So I try, y'all. I tried to make it as short as possible. But you know, if you still here, I appreciate you for staying with me. Hopefully I could be entertaining enough. I'm sorry that, you know, I had all those pauses and, you know, I'm taking notes. But, you know, like, I pride myself on being organic, you know, like I'm not, also because I don't have like no video editing skills, so I kind of have to be organic. But, you know, I just wanted to show y'all, you know, the real me and, you know, what I do and how I operate and, you know, and give you hope that you can do it too. You know, you don't have to be some, you know, expert video maker and you putting all these clips and these, you know, cool transitions and things like that. Like, you could just get on camera, record yourself talking, man. But yeah, like I said, that was once again Masonic and Occult Symbols illustrated by Dr. Kathy Burns. You can get it on Amazon, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is, you know, on their initiation journey, who's starting to see, you know, the truth of the world, and they want to find out more information about a lot of the evil and wicked things that they see. So yeah, highly recommend it. Once again, like I said, appreciate y'all for listening, for staying with me, and by chance.